probably one of the questions that the majority of people diving into 1.7, and as of recording this video, it's still not available in the Google Play Store. I am told through Pokemon that it's actually a Google issue and not a Ludia issue. I have no way to verify or discredit that, so I'm gonna go with it. I have no reason to think that Pokemon would be lying about this, but just to let you know, sorry about that, guys. I will, I don't even know what today is, Tuesday. So I'll actually send an email out to Ludia and ask them if they know what's going on. I can't, I honestly have no clue what is going on, and I understand that it's pretty frustrating, but if anything, I feel like Ludia will send out some kind of an apology, probably to everyone, because there's probably no way to say your Android and your iOS. And that is a little unfortunate, actually for everybody. I'm just gonna be totally honest here, because while the Android players are upset, and rightfully so, that they're not able to play, as an iOS player, there are significantly fewer people playing the game, and it makes finding a battle rather complicated, actually. So it affects everybody, and yes, I'm still able to do things being an iOS user that if you can't get into the game, you can't use at all, and so there is that, but I can still kind of understand and feel the pain that Google Play Android users are experiencing. Today's video is actually about stat boosting and tiers, and I don't know if there's a uniform term for this. So when I talk about tiers or stat boosts, I'm talking about not leveling up your dinosaur, but adding strength or health or speed to your dinosaur. And MetaHub, I'll put a link in the description below, did a really nice write-up on just exactly how all of this is going to shake out. So I'm going to touch on the broad strokes, and if you want to get into the small minutia of all of it, you can follow the link in the description below. But what you're going to get is when you go in battle and you complete this defeat 10 creatures, so your daily incubator, you're going to get, depending on what level of arena you're on, you're going to get a minimum amount. And for Avery, it is 4 for speed, 4 for health, and 4 for attack. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that probably means really nothing to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a dinosaur. I'm going to go to my Dilophosaurus. If you look at this Dilophosaurus, you will notice that the layout of the information for the dinosaurs has changed quite a bit. Underneath the name, you are going to see the health total, the damage total, and the speed total, 3286, 1381, and 129 respectively. And beside that, you're going to see little triangular shapes. I guess they're triangles, but they're hexagon triangles, and they're pointing up. This is something that you guys should probably all be pretty familiar with, because that is the same type of look that you get when a dinosaur is ready to be leveled up. So what that means is two things, actually. It means that your stat boost is not at level 10. Level 10 is max. And also it means that you actually have tokens, stat tokens, booster tokens, whatever you want to call them, that you can apply towards this specific dinosaur. So for my Dilophosaurus, you can see if I tap on, all you do is you tap on the circle, and it's going to show you in the, where it says damage, over to the right of that, it's going to say 18. That means that I have 18 of the tokens. It shows that my health currently is 1381, and at tier 1, it's going to go up to 1409 for a cost of just 2 little tokens. Like, that's nothing, right? Same for your speed, and same for your health. Now, before I get into exactly what all of these things do, I kind of want to talk about what I think maybe you should look at when trying to decide where you want to allocate these stat points. Now, as we know, the way the matchmaking is it's going to benefit you greatly to have a balanced team. So one thing that I would not do is I would not blow up all of my points into one dinosaur. I don't care how good you think Thor is. And while a Thor with double the speed, so at 218, and 50% more health and 50% more damage would cause a lot of problems for a lot of people, you're going to get matched up against competition that probably the rest of your team can't handle. And if you don't draw Thor, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Let's just put it that way. So with that in mind, what I want to do when I'm looking at these dinosaurs is, if I'm adding a health boost to my dinosaur. So say I want to take my Dilophosaurus from 3286 up to 3351. That is, like, in the grand scheme of things, that alone isn't really going to be a lot. But if you look at a dinosaur, say like my Miragaia, where I have the move of regeneration. So any dinosaur that has regen. Another dinosaur that would be nice for this is going to be the Edmontoguanodon, because it has regen and run. And what these do is they self-heal and they replenish your health by 50%. So you're actually gaining more value by putting your health into something that can go down and then regen itself back up, more so than if you just put it into a dinosaur like Dilophosaurus, where I'm essentially going to end up getting, I don't know what that is off the top of my head. It's less than 100. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like 75-ish points, a 75-point boost. Similarly, if I'm looking at putting damage into something, I want to get the best value for my damage. And and this is my personal opinion, so I could be completely off here, but I want to look at dinosaurs that are going to get the best value. And Dilophosaurus, to me, is one of the best values for this stat boost of damage, because I have 2 rampage moves. I have greater stunning rampage and I have rampage and run, which means I'm getting 2 times damage. So I'm kind of like, instead of just getting the, what is that? I don't know. I can't do that math off the top of my head, but it looks like 27, 28. Instead of just getting 28 additional attack points, I'm actually getting double that. It was at 56 because of those 2 moves. Now, not on every move, obviously. When I do my superiority strike, it's just going to be 28. But after I do either superiority strike or my distracting strike, I'm actually getting 56. So any dinosaur that has at least 1 rampage move, or a dinosaur that has a rampage move plus 2 1.5 times moves, I think those are going to be exceptional candidates for dropping these tier points, these stat boost points into the dinosaurs. Another thing that you want to look at when you are trying to decide is what kind of cooldown are these dinosaurs going to have. If it's something where, you know, you can use a rampage, but then you have a cooldown of 2, you have to ask yourself, how long is that dinosaur actually going to be in battle? Am I going to be able to use this more than once? Which I think also lends itself to Dilophosaurus being an exceptional value play here. Another dinosaur that I think, no matter what, like, whether you like it or not, I think something like Dracoceratops is a strong candidate for having a attack boost, simply because of the value of the swap in rampage, 2 times damage. Again, that is going to actually be multiplied by 2. Now, I will tell you why I think Dracoceratops is not the best candidate, and that is because Dracoceratops is not a super hybrid. For me personally, I'm going to be extremely cautious when it comes to allocating out these stat boosts, because if a dinosaur doesn't have a super hybrid, and by super hybrid it means a hybrid of a hybrid. So if I look at my Dilophosaurus, this is a super hybrid because Diloranosaurus is a hybrid. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And if you've been playing the game for a while, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't been playing the game for a while, I hope that makes sense, because Diloranosaurus is a hybrid of Dilophosaurus and Oranosaurus, and then the next level is a hybrid as well. So I'm really hesitant to drop any kind of a stat boost into something that could potentially get a super hybrid down the road. I feel like that would be a lost, like those would be lost points eventually at some point. And one dinosaur that I really like from the first video I did about 1.7 is the Spinonyx. The problem is it's not a super hybrid, but it does have a lot of the qualifications that I'm looking for, because it does have 2 rampage moves. So kind of keep those things in mind when you're trying to decide where do I want to allocate these points. As far as speed, to me, yes, speed is king in Jurassic World Alive. If you go first, you're typically going to get more attacks than your opponent. The problem for me with speed is there's a lot of things that can hinder your speed. Like any kind of dinosaur that does slowing, any kind of dinosaur that has superiority strike, like I mentioned before, is going to pretty much negate your speed advantage right then and there. So you really want to be careful on where you allocate your speed. And I personally, at this point in time, don't have an opinion on where a good place to allocate speed points are. Just because speed's kind of, yes, it's king, but it's also easy to overcome. Now let's talk about the cost of these stat boost points. Like I said before, in your daily incubator, you can get a few. Like you're not gonna get rich off of these, and you're not gonna get level 10 dinosaurs off of these, or tier 10 dinosaurs, pardon me there. But you are gonna get a little bit to make some progress here and there. Also, in the shop, there are stat boosts. You can see that for 500 hard cash, I can purchase 25 attack stat boosts, or I can purchase 25 health stat boost. And this is a point that I probably should have brought up earlier. All of these are specific to a specific skill. So I can't just buy stat boosts and then allocate them wherever I want, because attack boosts don't work with speed, and speed doesn't work with health, and health doesn't work with attack. Kind of makes sense. So you can buy those in the shop for 25 hard cash each. Also, while doing the beta, there were, similar to, if we look on the screen here, probably want to dart that Gallimimus. But if you look, similar to the scent strikes, we also had stat boost strikes. And they were very much the same thing that you would expect from the scent strike, except for the reward, instead of being scent capsules, were various levels of the stat boost. So there are definitely going to be ways where you don't have to pay to get these stat boosts. And darting is so much more difficult now than it used to be. A lot of people are complaining about it, and I don't know if their complaints are legitimate or if it's just, it's new and their muscle memory was such that now it's significantly harder because your muscle memory is telling you to do one thing, but the way that the drone reacts to your finger is totally different. It doesn't seem to bother me, but I'm not the world's best dart either. And I cannot claim my daily missions here. And in fact, I think I just crashed my game. So let's talk about the cost of these stat boosts. As you saw, you're gonna get some free ones, you're gonna get some in the shop occasionally. You can't just buy them all the time from what I've seen in the beta. The stat boost cost to go to tier 1 is going to be 2. And that we saw that one already, and my Dilorachirus upgrade costs 2. And you are actually going to get a 2% value to your total health there. So if whatever level your Dilorachirus hits for, you're going to get 2% advantage over that. Then you go to tier 2, it's gonna cost you 4 stat boosts. And I actually want to do my Dilorachirus. I think this is a good use of resources for the reasons I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to upgrade. And there we go. Now you can see I can go from 1409 to 1450. My total went from 18 down to 16, and that cost me 4 to go to tier level 2. So at tier level 2, I'm going to gain a 5% total increase, but a 3% change over the previous tier. And I hope that that makes sense. So the change from going from tier 0 to tier 1 was a 2% change. And then to go from tier 0 to tier 2 is going to be a 5% change, or a 3% change over tier 1 to 2. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, check out the article linked below, and you can read about it. Then to go from tier 3, from 2 to 3 is going to cost 8, and you're going to get a 10% total value, and then on and so forth. But it doesn't keep going up incrementally. Eventually, like around tier 5 or tier 6, you start getting serious diminishing returns. So to go from tier 5 to tier 6 is 64 of these stat boost tokens or stat tier tokens or tier points. And then it's going to double again to go from 6 to 7 to 128. But your percent change from 6 to 7 is only a 5% difference. Whereas going from 5 to 6, you gained 8%. Going 6 to 7, you only get 5%. Going from 7 to 8, it's going to drop down to 3%. And then 8 to 9 and 9 to 10 are 2% gains each. But they're going to cost you 512 stat boost points and 1,024 stat boost points. So as you can see, the closer you get to capping, the more it costs exponentially and the less return you're going to get. So in my opinion, I feel like the majority of the player base is probably going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 5, maybe 6 on any one specific dinosaur's stat category. And then they're gonna like call it quits from there because it just gets too expensive. Now, you can bypass everything. And this is where the people say, oh, the game is completely on pay to win. And yeah, it has, but there's a caveat to that as well. Because if I were to max out my Dilorhynchus stat points here, so if I were to go, what do I have? I have 16 more, which means that I could go like to level 4, I think. I think I can get to level 4 with what I currently have here. To go to level 5, I could either go to the shop and buy some for 500 hard cash, totally doable, or I could just bypass that and buy it straight from the dino screen that you're seeing here. The thing is it's gonna cost you hard cash. So if you don't have any freebies, none, just no freebies, to get one stat column, and we're talking about my attack right here, to get one of those maxed out, if I'm just gonna pay my way through all this because I'm a complete whale and this is total pay to win here, it's gonna cost me around $620 per stat level, per stat, whatever. So like to get my attack from tier 0 to tier 10 is around $620, just flat out buying it. If I want it today, before you poor Android users even have a chance to open 1.7, 620 bucks. So to do that for one dinosaur across 3 levels is like over $1,800. And then if you're going to max out a full team of 8, you're looking in the neighborhood of around $16,000. And in my opinion, if someone wants to drop $16,000 on Jurassic World Alive, more power to you, because that is going to allow the game to be sustainable for a lot more people for a lot longer period. I don't actually think anybody's going to do that, but somebody could surprise me. So before you start dogging on this tier system, just know that there are going to be plenty of opportunities for you to obtain free stat boost. Just by beating 10 dinosaurs in the arena, you're going to have the opportunity to accumulate, depending on what arena you're in, between 2 and 4 or 1 and 4 stat boost tokens each and every day. And then if they do decide to have in the strike towers that have the stat boosts in them, I believe the reward on that was 28 for all 3 levels. I think that's universal. So if you're in Avery and if you're in the highest tier or you're level 20 or whatever, and you do those each week, you're gonna get in the neighborhood of like 56 just for free. And over a few weeks, over a few months, you're gonna be able to put together some pretty nice looking teams with some pretty decent levels that even if somebody decided to pay to get their way up there, they're not gonna be so far ahead of you that it's going to make a massive difference. And finally, just one other thing I want to touch on super quick is the fact that when you are going up against an opponent who has stat boosts added to their dinosaur, as you can see in the picture here, my opponent's Thorodolosaur had stat boost. You will see the icon down at the bottom of the screen when the dino comes out on the field. Additionally, the number with the level of the dinosaur, if it's a unique, will kind of be a tealish instead of the bright green. And then what you do is you tap on that dinosaur and the numbers for the stats that are boosted are blue instead of white, so that you know. It doesn't tell you what tier they're at. That's gonna just have to be something people grow accustomed to just knowing off the top of their head, if it even matters. you can really see it on speed. You can look at it and say, okay, well, it's 132, which is 136 or whatever the case may be. But for the health and for the power, the attack, those will be in blue. Anyways, I hope that this clarified anything. If there's anything that I missed or that you are unsure of, leave a comment down in the section below and I will answer it as best as I can. Or you, as I said before, you can always check out MetaHub's write-up, and they are pretty all-inclusive about getting into the minutia and how much everything costs. That would just take like a 30-minute video for me to cover, and that is not what I want to do. Anyways, I hope this helps you guys out, and hopefully by the time you're watching this, Android users are able to play the game and you can start making decisions on where to allocate your stat boosts.